the Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones says he's not afraid to hold out until week 8. And some of you might be wondering, damn, why half the season or why week 8? Well, he still wants to get credited for a full season of veteran eligibility, probably a move that, him and his agent had consulted on. But Chris Jones says he's ready to hold out until week 8. And we just came out of this segment of talking about Lions at Chiefs preview this coming up for Thursday Night Football. But you look at Chris Jones' situation this year, it's not necessarily like Nick Bosa's, but you need to pay, your best defensive player. And I believe the Niners will make it right. And I hope the Chiefs make it right as well. But we know that he's been holding out in hopes of landing a new contract. He's entering the final year of his deal. He's due $20 million in his final year. And he's looking for a new deal that's really going to pay him about $30 million annually. Now, apparently Kansas City has offered Chris Jones a 3-year, $74 million contract, which is roughly around $25 a year. But which 70 million of it would be guaranteed. So that is obviously good for Chris Jones to be able to bring home $70 million guaranteed. But he's really looking at something more like 3 years, about $84.5 million. And that put him right between the contract that Aaron Donald signed a few years back and then the other star defensive tackles that signed this offseason. That put him at about $28 a year. I think that would put him in about that TJ Watt and hell, even Aaron Donald range roughly. And it's always difficult, right, when a player holds out. And my brain has caught up to the fact that the NFL is a business. So a guy that got paid, let's just say $100 million in a total contract for 2020, if there's a guy that's playing around the level of him just a couple years later, he's going to ask for more than that player, even if he's not as good as them. And I'm taking nothing away from Chris Jones. Again, 15 and a half sacks last year, 4-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowl over the last 5 seasons. So there's no complaints about Chris Jones's play, right? Again, he's the best defensive player for the team. He's a cornerstone of the team. If the Chiefs want to have any chance at beating, he needs to be on the team. No question about that. But you look at the fact that he's recorded the fourth most sacks in the league over the past 5 seasons, 56 and a half, 4-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler. He's only 29 years old, and he had 39 pass rush wins against double teams, 14 more than anyone in the league. So he was clearly pulling his weight last year. Best defensive player for the team. If the Chiefs want to have any possible chance of going back-to-back and actually repeating in this league, which is very hard to do, you're going to need that top 10 NFL player. You're going to need that 15 and a half sacks, or maybe he falls down to 12 or 13 sacks. You're going to need that third best player on the team because George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu, whoever else you have that might be in that rotation, they will not be able to fill the void of a star pass rusher and defensive tackle in this league being absent from that roster. And they really have to bring him back if they want to repeat, like I said. And the reason for me repeating that is because pass rushers are not as disposable as wide receivers in this league. A la Tyreek Hill, who just left last year, and they still had the number 1 offense in the league. I believe that wide receivers are much more replaceable than pass rushers. Yes, you can have a possible Eagles offensive line where 4 people have 10 plus sacks, not very often. First time in the NFL history that it's happened, but maybe some people try to go for that type of build. I feel like all of those guys, at least within the next year or two, with the way the NFL's going, they're probably going to want at least 15 to 20 million versus you go get a star pass rusher. It just depends on how you want to balance it, right? But the AFC is loaded with offensive teams, whether it's the Jets, whether it's the Bengals, whether it's the Bills, whether it's the Ravens. You're going to need Chris Jones to disrupt to disrupt the quarterback, because we know when the pass rush is effective, everything falls afterwards. It gives the DBs more time. It gives them more of a chance to jump in and break up a play. But y'all get in the comments, get in the chat. Let me know what you think about Chris Jones being prepared to hold out until week 8 of the 2023 NFL season. Not something that Kansas City needs at all. Again, he is a very highly touted, very well-respected defensive player in this league. And you just can't have this sort of rinse and repeat mentality, I believe, when it comes to a defensive player that pulls his weight the way that Chris Jones does.